I'm Allison Jonjak, the Cranberry Outreach Specialist with the University of Wisconsin-Madison Division of Extension. These videos are the on-demand recordings of UW Extension and the Wisconsin State Cranberry Growers Association's virtual brown bag lunch series. These monthly sessions offer growers and researchers a way to share timely and relevant information. We hope you'll enjoy and continue to engage with us.
Hi, I'm Tom Lochner, the Executive Director of the Wisconsin State Cranberry Growers Association. We're excited to be a partner with Extension to bring you research-backed resources, tools, and tips to keep Wisconsin marshes productive and profitable.
So good morning, everyone, for our last possible minute to say good morning on today, the 16th of February, and I wanted to welcome everybody to our first brown bag of 2024. A lot of times in the growing season, we focus on the timely in-field observations, and we take this time in February to focus on, the internal portions of our operations and our strategy and our onboarding and our, labor policy and those sorts of things. So wanted to today welcome Jim Versweveld of the University of Wisconsin-Madison Division of Extension Farm Management Team, who's going to work with us on onboarding. And then we'll have a quick survey from Anna Maria, who's with the Holland Lab of Plant Pathology. And then we'll move back to Extension Farm Management with Steph Plaster on a lot of business strategy. So I'll let Tom with the Growers Association give us a quick good morning welcome.
Well, yeah, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. I guess I'm in the afternoon up here, but thanks to everybody for joining us today. And then, of course, thanks to Allison and the Education Committee who put together the programming helped put together the programming for these brown bags. I think it's an important program that we have for growers to join to hear quick talks once a month at the end of the week over lunch, and certainly thank our speakers this morning for joining us. We just had a successful cranberry school, and we're going to continue to execute education programs for the growers based upon what the growers are asking us to do and getting that important information out to you. So good afternoon to everybody, and I'll stop talking and turn it back over to you, Allison.
Yeah. So the quick housekeeping details, as usual, go ahead and leave yourself on mute unless you have a question to ask. We do welcome questions anytime, whether unmuting yourself and asking or typing into the chat box for everyone. If you want to ask an anonymous question, use the chat box and ask the question to Allison, and I'll ask anonymously on your behalf. And then if you need captions, you should be able to click the ... menu and see those closed captions, not perfect, but generated live on the fly. So I think with that, I'm ready to hand it over to Jim. And then I think we can pass things off to Steph if you want to share your screen. Steph has joined the farm management program maybe 2 years ago now, maybe 3, but has been involved, often attends our research roundtables in the fall, and has been doing a kind of focus group to find out the best ways for farm management to engage with farmers. And so going to go over some of the results of that today.
Awesome. Thanks, Allison. And you can see my addressing top issues screen, correct?
I can. It's in presentation mode. It's beautiful.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Hello, folks. Like Allison mentioned, I'm Steph Plaster. I'm a farm management outreach specialist with UW-Madison Division of Extension, and I work statewide in ag business development, which I typically define as entrepreneurship, diversification, and strategic management, or that long-term planning. Today, I'm going to be speaking with you about the results of our grower and farmer business management focus groups, which were held over the last year and included cranberry growers. So this project was conducted by myself and another colleague, Katie Wantochs, who's also a farm management outreach specialist. And this project sought to identify the needs of Wisconsin's beginning and specialty crop growers. Okay, so first I want to introduce you to my Extension Farm Management team. We have Trisha, who's actually on this call. She's our program manager and our fearless leader. And then we have Katie Wantochs, who covers financial management in areas of risk, including taxation, crop insurance, and grain marketing. Jennifer Swaybold, of course, you just heard from, is our labor and safety specialist. We have Leonard Polzine, our dairy markets and policy specialist. Joy Kirkpatrick is our farm succession specialist, and she offers workshops and consultations relating to the business and human side of transitioning the farm to the next generation. And then we have Gao Nu, who is our Hmong farmer outreach specialist. And finally, our newest outreach specialist is Kelly Wilford, and she is currently developing her program on legal risk, which is likely to cover land leasing and access, long-term care and estate planning, and then farm succession or business entities and taxation. So a quick overview of what I'm going to be talking about, and I'll give the background and goals of this grant-funded project. I'll talk about how we conducted the focus groups, and then share the top issues and needs identified with along with how we've used the information. And then I would actually love to hear from you about what surprised you, what you agree or disagree with, and what do you think was missed. So make sure to take those mental notes so we can have a pretty good discussion at the end. So Katie and I were hired in 2022 into these new outreach specialist roles, and we really wanted to conduct a needs assessment to help determine our priority areas and focus. So we applied for an internal funding grant to help us conduct this assessment. And so you'll hear in the extension environment, you might hear a needs assessment a lot. So what this is a process driven by the question, what do clients need and how can those needs be met? So a need is defined as a gap between what currently is and what should be. So a needs assessment is a process to identify what people need, where they live, where they work, and where they play. And the purpose is to use the information gained to make plans to help meet those needs. So these new outreach specialist positions provide that opportunity to improve and expand education to producers of grain and specialty crop producers, which have been relatively underserved within our farm management program. So both these groups face larger risk exposure when compared to traditional or more established producers. So this project aimed to increase Extension's knowledge of farm business management educational needs of this audience, and it's a crucial step into developing our future programming and funding opportunities. So a beginning farmer is generally considered to be someone who has been operating their business for under 10 years. This is a little opportunity to either unmute or drop this information in the chat. Who can tell me what the average age of a beginning farmer is according to the recently released, as of like Sunday, 2022 Ag Census? Who has some guesses on the average age of a beginning farmer? And I promise this is relevant to cranberry growers too. You don't have any guesses? Okay, the average age of a beginning farmer is actually 47, according to the Ag Census, which is much, much older than people typically would guess. So this includes folks starting from scratch and those buying into or inheriting ownership of their family's ag business. So what do we hope to achieve by learning about the business management needs of beginning and specialty crop farmers and cranberry growers? So really, we want to learn about important issues facing the audience, learn from participants about existing initiatives that are addressing some of the identified needs, and identify ways for Extension to support those projects. We wanted to identify gaps in those areas of need, build a stronger network between organizations doing outreach and education, and to explore potential collaborations. So we conducted a total of 6 focus groups or listening sessions with stakeholders both in person and virtually. So there was with our Chippewa Valley Forage Council, UW Extension educators, the Wisconsin Association of Professional Ag Consultants. We talked with the Wisconsin Farm Bureau Young Farmers and Agriculturalists Committee. We talked with the Wisconsin Farmers Union Grain Committee. And of course, we talked with a group of cranberry growers, some of which I see are on today, which is wonderful. And then we also conducted in-person follow-up interviews with folks that we felt maybe we needed to get some clarification on their answers, and we wanted to know more information about what they had shared. So basically, we held open group discussions where we asked these open-ended questions to start, and then the group was able to lead discussion topics from there. So these are the questions that we carefully developed and we asked each group. So each group were asked the same questions. And the first one was, what do you think is the most important issue, are the most important issues facing your marsh? And then we kind of asked some sub-questions. What assets, tools, or support do you have currently that are available to help you address these issues? And then the second question we asked was, what do you observe as critical issues of importance to all growers in your industry? So we kind of started at the farm level, and then we were asking some industry level questions. And then underneath that, we asked, who do you believe could help you address these problems? And in your opinion, what's the best way to address whatever challenge was mentioned? And what would a good resolution to the problem look like? So we wanted folks to kind of share, like, what would they be happy with? How would they envision solving the problem? And then we, of course, asked what opportunities might move the industry forward in the next 5 to 10 years. We wanted people to think about changes in technology, markets, government regulations, societal changes that happening that might affect the industry, changes in consumer needs, demographic factors, talent availability, employee expectations. And then, looking 5 to 10 years down the road, kind of thinking, who is your competition and what are they going to be doing? Like, what's new and novel and where's the industry headed? So the main important issues that were identified were ranked by how often they were mentioned during the discussion and how much discussion was kind of had on these topics. And so, of course, overall, we had risk management, and these included things like crop insurance, grain marketing, life insurance came up, health insurance came up, just overall general risk management. Second, we had labor and that human risk, and that also includes things like what happens in case of death or divorce or other issues. We talked about farm management issues. That was pretty popular, especially with the beginning farmers and growers. And then this issue of automation and technology. What's new on the rise and what can maybe solve some of those issues of financial, labor, human, and other types of risk. And then access to capital, which included both finding funding and how to work with lenders. And then farm transition was a big one too. Issues related to succession of the farmland or the farm business, from the owner generation to the successor generation, including transfer of management and plan B, or what happens when maybe the successor's needs aren't being met by the farm. And then other topics that came up were like land access, consumer perception, alternative markets, and then transportation, specifically with trucking and regulations. So one of the strongest needs that was communicated across each group we spoke to was the need for stronger networks. And so there's a strong desire for interagency collaboration and partnerships across industries within agriculture to build stronger support systems. And then also I was pretty surprised about this, but there's increasing interest in cooperative models, and all of the following topics were mentioned when it came to like interest in cooperatives, and that's talent and labor development, learning cooperative models, equipment ownership models, health insurance was a big one, market development, HR management was a pretty cool cooperative model that was discussed, and then same with like financing and investor models. And then we talked about mentorship and peer learning as critical needs, both within industries and across industries, to bring in some of these innovative solutions to meet some of these increasingly complex challenges that we're facing here in the agriculture industry. We talked a little bit about existing and potential initiatives because there are many organizations that exist in this space. And so we're all working towards similar goals. So let's talk about, we needed that strong desire for stronger communication and collaboration across industries. And then we also had a discussion through most of the groups that came to discussions on what's your favorite way to receive educational information. And we learned that the top 3 requested formats were podcasts, short video, and then facilitated peer learning. Facilitated peer learning, specifically when we talk about more advanced topics and more expert level material, that facilitated peer learning is crucial. So I have a question for folks again. If you want to answer, you're welcome to unmute or throw it in the chat. Does this match with your own learning style preferences? So give me a thumbs up or put it in the chat if you prefer or agree with podcasts, short videos, and that facilitated peer learning. I will say, of course, we had much younger audiences. That's probably why we see some of the shorter form videos in there. But if that's something that is resonating with you, you can let me know. If there's other options, that would be cool to kind of hear what your preference is too. And we can talk about that as we get further down too. So how have we used this information so far, and what are we planning to do with it? Well, so far we have, my colleague Katie has developed and received, I believe, 2 grants for the Farm Pulse grain marketing program. So it's received initial funding and then a follow-up funding to develop materials to build awareness for the importance of developing grain marketing plans. And it's going to be an online course. It uses interactive teaching activities, where folks can apply grain price risk management principles to both a case farm and their own farm. We have also used this information in developing grant proposals and partnerships with organizations interested in addressing some of the same challenges that we mentioned, and we're waiting to hear back on a couple of those. And then personally, I've used the feedback to help shape 2 programs that I co-developed for this winter programming cycle, and both those programs are currently running. And I've seen enrollment and participation by cranberry growers, which I'm extremely grateful for. We did focus on making sure that these courses were relevant and timely and marketed towards cranberry growers as well. So those 2 programs are the Cultivating Your Farm's Future, which is a flipped classroom live virtual workshop series for ag businesses and families looking to transfer assets, ownership, and management to the next generation. And then the second course is the Navigating Your Ag Business from Stress to Success, which is an online course which also has live modules and one-on-one facilitation designed to support ag businesses to make decisions, take action to kind of move their farms forward and reduce farm member stress about those larger structural issues that we see on the farm. And then lastly, we've also been working with colleagues on UW campuses and of course, Allison, to explore options to develop tech solutions for issues facing cranberry growers. So there's a ton of excitement in this area, and we will hopefully have students engaged in this process over the next year. Okay, so now that I've had a chance to share some of those results and key findings from our focus group efforts, I'd love to hear from you on what surprised you, what do you agree or disagree with, and then what do you think was missed or not included. So again, feel free if you want to pop that in the chat. If you want to unmute yourself, if you want to introduce yourself if you've never met me before, that would be cool too.
Thanks for that presentation, Steph. And for those who, I guess, I'd be curious to hear as well. Do you who are on the call relate to what Steph heard as some of those primary issues, or was there anything that was on that list that wasn't on that list that you think ought to have been?
And one of the things too that I think I mentioned I might not have focused on it, but we did specifically focus on business management aspects. So when we were asking those questions, they were specifically related to business management. So I didn't see a lot of production issues, but of course, business management issues that run alongside those production issues we discussed. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, like this is an opportunity too to share if you have things that you think that we should be thinking about or addressing or trying to work more with researchers or UW professionals on, or even other groups that we could work on or people we could talk to, that would be your opportunity to share that as well. You know, it's a different topic, totally different than of course what Jim shared and what others talk about. But
yeah, and of course we kind of, you know, mentioned too the brown bags summer and spring and fall topics are all on those agronomic focuses and are all on those how we grow cranberries better. So this is our little period to make sure that we're considering the whole business, and really, you know, grateful for the assistance in sitting back and looking at that. Any questions for Steph? I'm not seeing anything in the chat, and I think any questions for Jim as well.
If you do have any more questions, feel free to shoot me an email. You can go and visit our farm's extension website and grab contact information. My phone number does accept text messages as well. I know that's a big thing for folks sometimes if you just don't want to make a call. So feel free to follow up if you'd like to discuss this more one-on-one. Happy to talk.
Awesome.